Welcome to Impact Makers Radio, featuring industry thought leaders sharing problem-solving insights to help grow your business and live the life you love. And here's your host, Stewart Andrew Alexander.
Hi, and welcome to another Let's Talk Divorce conversation. And on this segment of the show, ladies and gentlemen, I am very pleased to say that we have at last, after so many attempts, because he's such a busy man, we finally have family law attorney Jason Hurst of the Harrison and Held LLP calling in all the way from Chicago, Illinois. Now, Jason, who is considered to be a leader in the area of family law, will be talking to you today about focusing on what you want from your divorce. So, if you are one of the increasing numbers of people thinking about or going through a divorce, or maybe you've even gone through a divorce in the Chicago, Illinois area, it might serve you well to just stop what you're doing, take a break, grab a notepad and pen, and take some notes as you listen in to what Jason has to share with you today. So with that said, he is a busy guy. Let's bring him onto the show. Welcome, Jason.
Stewart, thank you for that introduction. First and foremost, it's my pleasure to be speaking with you this afternoon. I'm happy to be here talking to you and your listeners.
And we're happy to have you on as well, Jason. So let's make the best use of our time and jump feet first in. Briefly, in your own words, describe the kinds of people who you serve and the various types of situations they find themselves in when they come to you for your help.
So I'm a divorce lawyer, or more broadly, Stewart, a family law attorney. And I say family law attorney because I do more than just divorce work. And what falls under that umbrella of family law is divorce, child custody proceedings, now in Illinois known as allocation of parental responsibility, child support proceedings, what was formerly known as a visitation proceeding, now known as parenting time proceeding, and the preparation of prenuptial and postnuptial agreements. Now, my practice is sort of a niche practice in that I specialize in what we loosely refer to as high-end divorce work. So I concentrate in representing high-income and high-net-worth individuals in family law proceedings. And just by way of illustration, Stewart, I've represented athletes, including professional baseball players, basketball players, and football players. I've represented entertainers. I've represented members of the media, business owners, and a whole host of other professionals. Most people don't earn substantial incomes and aren't worth multi-millions of dollars. So in addition to that kind of high-end niche practice, I represent people from all walks of life: teachers, police officers, firefighters, owners of small businesses. So while I may concentrate in high-end divorce work, I represent people from all walks of life along a broad spectrum, again, in divorce, custody, child support, visitation disputes, and the preparation of prenuptial and postnuptial agreements.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that with us, Jason. Now we have a great idea of who you help out there. Before we move on to our next question, let's just take a moment to make it absolutely clear that anything you share with us from this point on is not legal advice or legal assistance. It's purely for the purpose of disseminating information. Can we both agree on that then today, Jason?
That is a good disclaimer and caveat, Stewart.
Fantastic. So when those people come to you for your help, those people you just described, what's the most common, and I'm sure there are so many, but we are restricted by time, but what's the most common misconception they have about getting what they want from their divorce?
Well, one common misconception is that it matters who files first, which it doesn't. In the state of Illinois, it's a no-fault state, so it doesn't matter who did what to whom or under what circumstances and who files first. Illinois is what we call an equitable distribution state. So the court allocates assets, income, liabilities based on what the court determines to be fair or equitable. So the fact that your spouse may have cheated on you and run off with some other man or woman does not factor into the court's allocation of the marital estate or the assets or liabilities.
So let's just underpin that then, Jason, based on what you just shared with us, and obviously keeping your client's confidentiality in mind. Please share an example or a case study, so to speak, of how you've helped, or even how you would go about helping someone who came to you with those challenges or that misconception you just described, and what kind of transformational results you were able to or would be able to gain for them.
Well, when people come to my office, Stewart, what I try to counsel them to do is figure out what their main objectives are. What are the 3 or 4 things that are most important to them as a part of their dissolution proceeding. Right. If they have children, that might be obtaining more parenting time with their children. If they don't have children, a lot of my clients' primary objective might be shielding or protecting some retirement asset. Some clients' main objective is keeping the home. But whatever their objectives are, I have them distill that to 3 or 4 things so that they don't get trapped in the minutia of fighting over everything. And I'll give you just a quick illustration. One time I was representing a husband in a divorce proceeding where 99% of the issues had been settled and we were at the day of trial. And he and his soon-to-be ex-wife were still fighting over a coffee table set. Okay, there was a coffee. This is a true story. This is a coffee table set where there were 3 pieces. One was a circular table, one was a square table, one was a triangle, and they both really, really, really wanted the square table, the square coffee set table. And I had to explain to my client that every minute, every half hour, every hour that we spent in court fighting over this coffee table was billable time and not a good investment of his money. This is a good example of choosing your battles. Right. And some divorce lawyers will let clients fight over any and everything. I don't do that. I don't let my clients do that. We pick the important things to fight over, and that's what we invest our time and attorney's fees in.
Well, I've heard it before from divorce attorneys like yourself, people fighting over things which appear to be trivial for the outsider, but obviously more important for the people involved. But like you say, they are billable hours. So my listeners, think about that. If you are in that position and you're going through a divorce, pick your battles, as Jason says. So as a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is family law attorney Jason Hurst of Harrison and Held LLP in Chicago, Illinois, and is here today talking about focusing on what you want from your divorce. Now, with that in mind, Jason, and for those people who are listening in right now and wanting to know more, please share one common but unknown pitfall they need to avoid regardless of what situation they find themselves in.
Well, it kind of goes back to my point a moment ago, Stewart, about distilling what you want out of your divorce. And it doesn't have to be a nasty process. And I especially counsel clients when they have children that this process affects children, whether you know it or not. And it has long-term impacts and ramifications on the children. Even if the children are only tangentially involved, you have to get through the process as amicably as possible. So in the state of Illinois, for example, when there are children involved, the court requires the parties to A, attend the parenting class, and B, attend mediation. Because we want litigants to work out their own agreements whenever possible, instead of letting the court intervene and decide for them. And I always frame it to my clients in that manner. If you and your soon-to-be ex-spouse, don't reach an agreement and, fashion and determine your own fate, then some stranger will, some third party in a robe that doesn't know you and that doesn't know your children and doesn't ultimately know what's in their best interest. Right. You as the parent have a much better idea of what your children's wants and needs are. So again, don't fall into the trap of divorce litigation. And many people, you have to understand, when they're going through the process, it's a physically, mentally, and emotionally taxing process. And people aren't always thinking about things in a rational manner. People often use divorce litigation as a tool to get back at the other party that walked out on them, or that squandered all their money, or that's trying to take their kid away from them, or whatever, whatever it is that they've concocted in their head that this other person, the bad guy, is trying to do to them.
Sure. I can certainly underpin what you said about the children being affected by the divorce, and especially one where there's a lot of conflict, because being a child of divorce myself, I've experienced that. I was only 8 years old when my parents went for a very volatile and violent divorce, and I ended up blaming myself for that and took that guilt into adulthood. And it took me many, many years to deal with that, to learn how to to process that and to get to the truth that it wasn't my fault. So for any parents that are out there who find yourself in that position right now, I can only raise my hand and say, yes, Jason is 100% right. As a child of divorce, I know just how much impact that has. So I always say, no matter how much you hate yourselves at the moment, love your children more than you hate yourselves and put them first. So I'm really glad that Jason brought up that point about the children. So with all of that said then, Jason, you've got me kind of curious without going into your background or anything like that, because we're going to cover that in a short moment. How many years have you been practicing family law?
I've been practicing family law for 8 years now. I spent the first 5 years of my career at a prominent divorce firm in Chicago. I was recruited to come to the firm that I'm currently at, where I recently made partner.
Okay, so in those 8 years then, Jason, I can only assume you've helped hundreds of people. What's most important to you about helping your clients to get what they want from their divorce? Or in other words, what do you personally get from it, Jason?
I want to get people through the process efficiently, effectively, amicably, and in a cost-efficient manner. Okay, I'm the first person to tell my client, all my clients, that the only people that win in divorce court are the lawyers. People come in with raw emotions, and like I said, they fall into the litigation trap, which ratchets up fees. And I don't like to do that. I like to do things amicably whenever possible. However, I do have a strong background in litigation and trials, so I'm always prepared to take a case to its end if we have to go to trial. But that's usually not in the party's best interest. Trials are very expensive. I've had custody trials, Stewart, that have gone into the hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay for. Mm-hmm. Because once you get into custody litigation, the court sometimes appoints a third lawyer to represent the kids in the capacity of a child's representative or a guardian ad litem. Sometimes the court involves a third-party clinical professional to prepare a formal custody evaluation. This is usually a psychiatrist or a psychologist with a background in family issues. Those custody evaluations are very, very expensive, and in my experience have ranged from $5,000 to $50,000.
Mm-hmm. So, Jason, let's just imagine it's any day of the week. You wake up, it's 6, 7 a.m., your alarm clock goes off, and it's the day following a day in court where you have helped one of your clients to get what they want from their divorce. How do you feel on a morning like that, Jason?
Well, Stewart, I take a lot of pride in what I do in providing my clients with the highest quality legal representation possible. So I'm always very proud, personally and professionally, when I can achieve my clients' objectives, and do so in a manner that does not leave them broke, and also do so in a manner that doesn't leave them damaged and destroyed emotionally, physically, psychologically from a bitter, acrimonious divorce. The bottom line is maybe 1% of cases actually go to trial. So at some point, the litigants come to their senses, and decide to settle the case between the two of them without involving the court by way of trial. My goal is to get them to that point as quickly as possible. And what I find is that ultimately my clients are a lot more appreciative of me and my services because they know that I do try to save them money. And, that I'm not one of the lawyers out there just trying to churn the billing machine and run up fees. Because ultimately it's more valuable to me to have a happy, satisfied client with a low bill, than who will refer me to his or her friends or family members and their entire network than one client with $100,000 bill that leaves the process angry, and not feeling like they got value out of it.
Jason, spend a brief moment telling us a little bit about your background and especially your formal education and your experience as it relates to the topic of family law.
So I was born and raised in Chicago. I obtained my Juris Doctorate degree, or Doctorate of Jurisprudence from Indiana University, Bloomington, which is a beautiful campus. I love it down there. I had occasion to make it down there not too long ago. I've been practicing law in the state of Illinois, in the city of Chicago, for the last 8 years, 7.5 of which has been exclusively in the area of matrimonial or family law. Again, that's the umbrella of divorce, child custody, now known as parental responsibility in the state of Illinois, but I like to still call it child custody for shorthand. Visitation disputes, child support disputes, and the preparation of prenuptial and postnuptial agreements.
So, Jason, as you think about those kinds of people who come to you for your help and they want to know more about focusing on what they can get from their divorce, what final thoughts would you like to share with them before we finish up with our last question for today?
Well, first and foremost, and it may sound counterintuitive, but I'm married. I have 3 small children. The first thing that you have to do in the process is do some reflecting and determine if this is what you want to do. Do you want to take the next step to dissolve your marriage? And then if you do so, I think you need to find a lawyer that has the same kind of temperament and disposition that you do. Somebody that you work well with. Somebody, because the attorney-client relationship is a collaborative relationship. So it's very important that you find the right attorney that kind of fits your personality and someone who's going to pursue your objectives in the manner that you want them to.
Okay, Jason, so if there is somebody out there who feels they want to know more about the whole process of getting what they want from their divorce, what's the easiest way for them to get in touch with you?
Sure, Stewart. As you stated at the outset, I work at the law firm of Harrison & Held, LLP in Chicago, Illinois. Our office is centrally located in downtown Chicago at 333 West Wacker Street. We're on the 17th floor. My direct line at the firm is 312-621-5253.
Excellent. So that's all we have time for today, ladies and gentlemen. Once more, that was family law attorney Jason Hurst. Thank you so much for sharing so generously with us today, Jason. You have certainly, without a doubt, hands down, 150%, I would say, even if does that even exist, 150%? Anyway, you have certainly demonstrated that you are a true educator, advocate, and trustworthy advisor for your client's success. So thank you.
Thank you, Stewart. I really appreciate that. And again, it's been my pleasure speaking with you this afternoon.
You are so welcome. And I'd also like to say a big thank you to you, the listener. Without you, we wouldn't have anybody to speak to. So thank you for joining us on what I can only describe as a very insightful and informative conversation with one of the leading family law attorneys in the Chicago, Illinois area today. Again, his name is Jason Hurst. Make sure you do check him out. Give him a call, visit his website. Whatever you do, I am sure that after listening to Jason today, and he's only began to touch the tip of the iceberg of the amount of information that he could share with you. So I'm sure that if you do reach out to him, you're going to be in a great place to start addressing your current situation. So that's it for today, folks. Again, my name is Stewart Andrew Alexander, and we'll be back shortly with some more leading family law professionals in this, our series of Let's Talk Divorce Conversations. So until then, take care, have a great day, and we'll talk real soon.
Thank you for tuning in to Impact Makers Radio. To listen to all past, present, and future industry thought leaders and trendsetters, visit us at impactmakersradio.com.